So here to solve this TomTom I wrote called Tetrominoes. The title is obviously based on the cage layout, which has all the cells in groups of 4 and always in multiple rows and columns when they appear because of just the L, T, and S shapes. But some of the logical things I want to put in the puzzle included starting. I was trying to get as many 30s as I could into the grid, and I wanted some cases where, for instance, an L shape, this can never be a sum because 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 8 is the largest value you can have, which is 29. But a group like an S shape allows for 30 to be a sum, 8 plus 7, 8 plus 7. So I wanted to get some spaces where we had to think about that option where this isn't a product, but still has some choices. Some of these cages for sure are products, like 32 is a product of multiples of 2. 2240 will probably be what stands out and what most people will start with as they look through this grid. 2240 has a factor of 5. It also has a factor of 7, which leaves behind 320. Take out the 5, gives 64. 64 is 8 squared, so the star of this puzzle is marking 8 with 5, 7, 8, removing the space on it. And let me actually just clear that cage out, which has a lot more info than we need at this moment. We know for sure that this top 30 has a 5 as part of a product. This 84 has a 7 as part of its product with 12 left over. Not much else we'll put in the grid at this moment. We can, I guess, put in a 5 as in this 240 cage, but the main starting point is starting from the lower left where this 35 is a forced product, and with 2 prime factors, 1, 5, and 7 come up this column. 1 ends up having to be in this remaining cell in the L shape so that this works out. And this constrains now the whole rest of leftovers in this column. So the flow of the grid is working up this column and further out. And one of the things to see is this 12 can no longer be a product with 1s eliminated from both of these spaces. 2, 3, 4, if another 2. The minimum product this could be is a 48. And it actually is a case that if an 8 is in one of these cells, we now actually can't make a valid sum because 2, 3 are the smallest we can get in this space. So 8 has to come up top. You can even say, could a 6 come down here? This is the minimum. Sorry, this is the minimum values you can have with a 6. It leaves behind just 1 more value, but that would eliminate 1 with 1. So 6 also can't go down here. And so there's one way to split the 5 remaining digits after you put in the 157, which is 2, 3, 4 down below. Get another 3 in here to complete that sum. And this 19 has a sum of 14 in these cells, so it has 5 more in the remaining cells, which will come as a pair of 2, 3 or 1, 4. And these values were set up because they would have some pretty interesting interactions with the cage just to the right. And we'll get to that in a second, but the first thing we'll see is that this top row, with this 30 being a product, doesn't have many spaces for the 7 to go. None of these first 6 cells can be a 7. This cell sees the 7 below, and so the 7 must be here. Let's actually now think through this space. We still need to get an 8 in this top row, and the 8 can't be in the cell, and it's not going to be in a 5 product, so the 8 is over here. And we need to get a 5 in this top row, and the 5 can't be in this cell, so it's got to be in one of these 3 cells. And I think this is the setup where we start to get to some of the interesting deductions that are influenced by having an unknown pair, but a pair of digits here, 2 of 3 or 4 of 1. If 4 of 1 is over here, then the remaining things for this product are going to be the 2, 3 sitting here, and the 6 going all the way over to that cell. Notice that that means there's a product of 30 in this top space, and a 1 goes in this cell. The other way this can flow out is that a 1 goes in the space, and if a 1 goes in the space, notice that it now eliminates the 1, 4 option here, which means these are 2 and 3. So the next digit we can put in the cell that still works for a product is a 6. We can't put in a 4. And so what this does is puts, again, a 30 into these cells and forces a 1 down in the cell. And so because of how the pairs work to the left, the 2, 3 or the 1, 4 option, there's always the fact that a 1 has to be in the cell because you can't put a partial, like 1 with 2 or 1 with 3 just don't work up top. 2 with 3 or 1 with 6 are the only values that complete this cage. And in those 2 states of the world, 4, 6 go into this cell. But the main thing is to see that there's a 1 right here. And the reason that's key is it now starts to put some constraints on these cages around it that have to be products. For instance, if the 7 is down below, that leaves behind 12 to go in the space, but a 12 can't be done with 2, 3, and 4 as the smallest digits. So 7 is always in these cells. Another thing we can now actually do is recognize that the 7, 8 option in this cage isn't possible for the sums because of how the 8 works. And so this is always a product. That means a 5 goes in here. It means that a 7 digit like 7 can't go in the space. And so we're going to be thinking through the limitations of the digits to work through. Notice this 7 can be 2 of 3 or 3 of 4, but we kind of get that there's a 1, 2 left in this cell. And that elimination for this cell means that with this being a product, 7's not in any of these spaces. This is the only cell that a 7 can go into. And that now gets us into thinking through this row. In this case, let's actually start with this 32 tetromino. It's only going to take the multiples of 2, and 1 and 8 are already above, so 2 and 4 go here. It has a product of 4 in the remaining cells, which can't be 2 2s, because that would now put 3 2s in this whole cage, but it can take a 1 with a 4. So that means there's a 4 in this row and a 4 in that row. And we can put this pattern in the grid. Even if you didn't mark that in, across this whole row, the only 2 cells that could still take a 7 are these 2 cells, because this 30 is a product. And so this is where, when I said at the start I wanted to get a 7, 8 sum split down in the 30 to be different from these other breakdowns, this is where that happens. The 7, 8 eliminates a 7 choice there. This 7, 8 eliminates an 8 choice here. Gets some of that placement in the puzzle. It now makes this row an interesting row of 2 cells left, which needs to take a 6. You can think about the 6 in the cell, but the 6 in the cell now leaves just behind 5 and 1 as remaining digits, and it would have to go like this, but the 1 already in the grid cancels that option. So we have a case where the 6 option is not good for this cell, and it has to go over here. We still then now have to get a 6 in this row, and it's not in this cell, so can go here. Notice that this 6 now means all the remaining digits in this Tetrominoes are 1s and 5s. And so a cell like this, which can't be a 1 and can't be a 6, must be a 5, which now means all we have left in the shape are 2 1s and a 6. And this is going to give us a lot of headway through the puzzle pretty quickly. It's going to force this 2 5 split. It's going to put in a 4 here, which puts 2 4 and 1. This becomes 2 and 3. We have now sort of these 2 cells to think about. We've got 12 already as a sum. If this were 4, this is a 6, but 6s are around it. If this is a 6, this is a 4. That leaves 2, 3, and 7 in the space. And this actually, because the 7's down below and the 2 is there, is forced. So we've got 2, 7. This 7, 8 still looks good. We now actually know, though, that a 6 comes down into these cells. And what we want to think about is, actually, I sort of overran this. The 2, 3 have to be in this cage after we put this as a 6. So this is a 1 and a 4. And anyway, coming back now down to here, this 5 and 6 is 30. And we could put an 8 into this cage, but that would take it all the way to 240 and would put another 1 here. And once we actually know there's a 1 up top, there's no way an 8 goes alongside the 5 and 6 in these cells. So an 8 goes here, 8, 7, 8, 7, closes out 8, 7, 2. The top cage now can only have a 2 in that middle cell on the 5th column for this set. This 5 and 6 are joined by a 2, so that overall product is 60, which leaves behind a 4. We've got 5, 6 in this cell. We have 3, 5, 6 to finish this 5th row. 5, 6 already here, so this is a 3. 5 already here, so this is a 6. This is a 5. Leaves behind 2, 6. 6 times 3 is 18, and this 36 is always going to be a product cage, so we have 1 and 2 left to go, which are forced over by this 1. This 2 now forces stuff over here. There's one last 2 in the grid, which is down here. 2 with 8. This now gives us a sum of 10 with 8 to go, and this is a 3, 4, 3, 4 set, but 4 with 4 is no good. 3 with 5 looks good. So you put in the 5, that gives us a 5, 6. That 5 comes all the way over to here. 1 and 7 to finish the column. We have 4 and 8 to finish this row, and that looks good for a total sum of this group. We have 8, 3, 7 in the space. Got 8 with 3, 7, 3, 7. We have 6, 3, 7 down here with this as the last space for a 6 with 3, 7, 3, 7. The 5 down below forces us 5, 3, 7, 3, 7, 3, and we finish this puzzle. So a set of hard steps throughout. A lot of the tracking was breaking through this first column and then doing a lot of careful math and elimination through these top cages, particularly seeing how the pair in these cells would force a 1 into this spot. That one forces 7 up top, which now makes it somewhat constrained where the 7s go in general, as well as where the 6s go. And so figuring out this is an 8-7, 8-7 split, and then a 6 has to go in this cell and into this cage. These things in the middle were the tricky uses of the 30 clues that I wanted to be the key sticking point for the puzzle, and hopefully in your own solve or through this video, you get a sense of how to work all the way through to that deduction to unravel the rest of the puzzle. Hope you learned something through this video, and we'll see you again soon.